Hello. In the startup world, as you well know, things move really, really quickly. It's hard enough to remember what happened last week, let alone what happened last month. That's why I thought it might be helpful to just give you a refresher every once in a while on all the amazing things that are happening in the Portland startup community. I'll cover things like funding announcements, newsworthy stories, as well as acquisitions and other deals that may be taking place. I hope it helps you keep better tabs on what's happening in the Portland startup community. Let's get into it. $6.5 billion in an all-cash deal, Ampere Computing. And the story of Ampere is founder Renee James, University of Oregon alum. She's a duck. I think two-time. I think she got her undergrad and her graduate degree at U of O. She was the president of Intel. Perhaps you've heard of Intel. She was the president there. And, for whatever reason, I'm not going to speculate, she left Intel and then she started Ampere. Ampere, I don't have the exact date. Like at one part of the site, it said 2017. In the press release, it said 2018. So let's say 2017-ish. Ampere started, Renee James started Ampere. Why am I talking about this? Isn't Ampere a hardware company headquartered in the Bay Area? Well, yes, but they have more than 250 employees here in the Portland area. And I think I heard somebody say that Renee James lives in the Portland area. So, there's all that. It's a very Portland story. So, again, $6.5 billion in all cash. Who has the money to do that? SoftBank. SoftBank picked them up. SoftBank's been doing a lot of AI dabbling. And while Ampere, that might help to tell you, Ampere originally started building chips to help improve the energy load on cloud computing chips. And they not pivoted necessarily, but they recognized that that was also valuable for AI. And I don't know if you know this, but AI is kind of the hot thing right now. Maybe you've heard some people talking about the AI. So they entered the AI chip market as well, which, you've heard of other companies in that, like NVIDIA and other companies in that space. And obviously really paid off for them. So they will become like a wholly owned subsidiary operating on their own. There's supposed to be no effect to the Portland office. No idea how that exit kind of sprinkles out among founders and employees and investors and all that kind of thing. But still, $6.5 billion for a startup with a significant Portland presence that was only started 6 or 7 years ago, depending on how you count it. That's pretty impressive. And a 6 or 7 year turn time for an exit that large is practically unheard of here in the region. So I will continue to track Ampere as more details come out about the deal. I read through the SoftBank kind of statement on the acquisition and the elements and the stuff about the acquisition. And so not a ton of detail, but I will keep an eye on it. And it was just a huge story and a huge surprise. I was having one of those weeks where it's I don't know if I'm going to have a big news story this week. What is my big news story going to be? And lo and behold, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, Ampere really just takes over all the headlines. So there you go. Ampere Computing, $6.5 billion in an all-cash deal acquired by SoftBank Group. Lytics, a long-time Portland startup. I believe they started in 2013-ish. I say that offhandedly because we were lucky to have them in the second class of Pi. So full disclosure, I am the co-founder and general manager of Pi. Lytics is a Pi alum. They were just acquired by an Austin, Texas company called Contentstack. There isn't a great deal of detail about the deal. Kind of the terms of the deal were not disclosed, but it is a mix of stock and money, cash for folks. Eric Benson, our friend at Voyager Capital, said that it was a very good exit for the investors. So that's promising. It's always nice to see a successful exit for a Portland startup, and to see that people get kind of a soft landing. So the Lytics employees will all join the Contentstack group and be helping them with what they had, the space that Lytics had established as a front runner, the customer data platform space. So really lending not only a lot of credibility, but also some really interesting technology to Contentstack. Congratulations to all the folks at Lytics, and of course the founders, James McDermott and Aaron Radden. Happy to see you get a liquidity event out of all that hard work you put into that startup, and cannot wait to see what you do in this next chapter of your career. Another acquisition in the Portland startup community, Acton Software has been acquired by Bonsai International for $53 million. So there's some details here and there. I'll link up Portland Business Journal and GeekWire. They covered this story. The part that's kind of interesting to me is with the Lytics exit and with the Acton exit, that marks 2 exits in 2025 for Voyager Capital. And if you're not familiar with Voyager Capital, Diane Freeman is the local person from Voyager Capital here. I often refer to her as the true VC here in Portland, but a Seattle-based fund, only does priced rounds, so they don't do safes or convertible notes. They only do priced rounds. Sometimes they go early on companies. They went early on Lytics. I'm not sure where they got in at Acton Software, but I just think it's super interesting that 2 of their investments have exited in 2025. So I'm just going to keep watching that portfolio to see who else in the local area, which other Portland startups that Voyager has happened to put capital into. Like, are there other potential exits in the offing? Is there something else interesting in the works for Voyager Capital? So again, Acton found an exit. They were acquired. A lot of the folks existing at Acton will join the new parent company. The parent company is super happy because they're like, oh, we gained a whole bunch of functionality that we really needed. And this was a industry-leading product that we were really impressed with. So all good there. Again, $53 million is nothing to sniff at. I don't know. What's the phrase? I don't remember the phrase. Anyway, so I told you I'm not feeling well. Sneeze. It's nothing to sneeze at. So congratulations to Acton. It's always nice to see Portland companies achieve a liquidity event and to see their investors get money back. And hopefully some of the folks at Acton itself saw some upside from that event, but can't wait to see what continues to happen with the Voyager portfolio in 2025. I'm going to really be watching that closely. DeepSurface, Portland startup in the cybersecurity space, exited, acquired. Great for those founders. They had raised about $1 million, I think, according to GeekWire. But the even better part of this story, from just maybe not better to you, but better from like a trivial knowledge, like, I want to say interesting things to my friends about things that are happening in the Portland startup community. Maybe I should do the whole podcast with this voice. No? Okay, cool. So the interesting thing from a Portland startup community standpoint is our friends at Voyager Capital have hit the trifecta for 2025. The year is barely a month long, and Voyager Capital has already seen Acton exit, they've seen Lytics exit, and now they've seen DeepSurface exit. So the Voyager portfolio has seen a number of exits in 2025. We'll see what that portends Is portends even the right word? Portends for the future. But I think all by way of saying, like, Voyager has made significant bets in the Portland startup community. They're seeing a number of exits in 2025 from those bets. And that's the cycle, right? Like, we need investors to put down money to help companies grow and expand. And at some point, there needs to be some liquidity event to put money back to those investors. And we've seen that happen 3 times for Voyager in 2025. In, I don't know, what is it? Less than 38 days. So, like, and you can't even count the beginning of January because you got like New Year's, and then you got like Epiphany, and then you got like the people don't really even get back to work until, like, I don't know, like the 12th. So, so you're seeing a lot of activity around the Voyager portfolio and the bets they've made, which I just think is really interesting and we should keep an eye on. So that's where we are. Another exit with DeepSurface. Congratulations to the founders on that exit. They hadn't raised a ton of capital. $1 million is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money, but not as stratospheric as some of the other startups we've seen that have exited recently. Congratulations to them and Voyager on the exit, and all the other investors and the founders and all that kind of thing. Our friends at Graze, Graze.social, which you may remember as the company that was experimenting with tooling for Bluesky. That Bluesky is so hot right now. They were working on elements that would make Bluesky more functional for corporate company algorithmic, like curated algorithmic stuff. Like, they basically make it really easy for anyone to develop a curated feed of what they want to see. The beauty of Bluesky feeds is that you can share them with anyone. So, like, you can create a feed, and then you can tell your friends to add this feed to their Bluesky, and then they'll get the feed of that content. And then, of course, with that kind of vantage point purview, the other thing that becomes interesting is Graze can allow people to place kind of paid promotions within that feed. So, again, better control of the algorithm. You're not relying on like a massive corporation to deal with the algorithm and control what you see. You get to pick and choose which algorithms you tune into. You can fine tune your own algorithm to make it valuable to you. And then there's this opportunity for advertisers to engage with those feeds that they find valuable at the Metro Region Innovation Hub, the Portland Metro Region Innovation Hub for all the innovation and connections and wayfinding in the Portland area, which has been existing with a single navigator, now has 2 navigators. So in addition to Carrie Doherty, we now have Pat Cheung has now been hired as an additional navigator for the Metro Region Innovation Hub. This is, I think, a great hire in grabbing Pat Cheung. Pat Cheung, full disclosure, served as a mentor in residence for Pi pre-pandemic. He's raised money, had a successful exit, been through Techstars, started any number of meetups in town and connected people and all those kind of things. And so I think this is a great add to the Metro Region Innovation Hub team. I will put some more thought to it and write up something more significant. But I think Pat has a specific point of view on the Portland startup community as someone who moved here from LA and was trying to get connected, realized the difficulties or the opportunities. You know, I always remember meeting Pat. Pi was at central office in the Pearl. Pat was there day in, day out, working in kind of the hot desk space at central office, and, as co-working spaces do, wound up talking to Pat, figuring out what was what, and just really appreciated his perspective, and really, like, he wanted help, he wanted to get engaged, he was a mentor for Pi, wound up again being a mentor in residence, which means he was there. This means he was there every single day, hanging out with the startups, providing feedback, giving them reality checks about what was what. And so I'm really psyched to see Pat move into this role at the Metro Region Innovation Hub, where he will have direct contact with startups, founders, trying to find their way through the Portland startup ecosystem and community, and can't wait to see what both he and Carrie, under the guidance of Assad Yalda Moshiri, has been named to the OEN team. Now, here's the thing. You're like, that's no surprise. I've seen her representing OEN at events all the time. Yalda's here, Yalda's there. She's hanging out with all kinds of people. It was officially announced that Yalda has joined as kind of the Angel Oregon program lead. Not kind of as. She's the Angel Oregon program lead. Why is this amazing? Why did I also mention Pat? Because Yalda is a former founder as well. And I love it when we can take the opportunity to engage with people with startup founder experience and get them engaged in organizations that support startups and entrepreneurship. And Yalda is no different. Like, she knows the drill. She knows the assignment. She's got to deal with, like, investor angel-y types. She's got to deal with startups who want money from those investor angel-y types. I think they have Angel Oregon Tech. They have Angel Oregon Bioscience. And, of course, they have Angel Food, which is the food thing, even though it's a pun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Yalda engages. She's a Pi alum, so soft place in my heart for Yalda, obviously. But also, I would just like to say that she has been doing a phenomenal job of, like, showing up to, like, every single thing and being present and, like, celebrating what's happening in the community. So even in this early going, I can tell she's going to have a huge impact on the community in this role. And congratulations to not only Yalda, but OEN on making an excellent hire. Katharine Reinhold is now the new executive director of Built Oregon. So if you haven't had the chance to meet her, you're in the consumer product space, please take the opportunity to connect with Katharine. I mean, take my word for it, she's great. She's great. She's going to do great stuff. But more importantly than her being great is the fact that Mitch and I are startup people. Like, we like to try things. We like to start things. We like to do a lot of things. Not all those things necessarily work. Not all those things necessarily work at scale. But I think what Katharine will bring to Built is an ability to assess all of these things we've tried to do and really recognize what is working, so that she can not only kind of simplify the offerings from Built, but also optimize them. Like, I think we've done, and it's not really me, I'm just kind of behind the scenes. I think Mitch and Shauna Noah, who helps manage all of our programs and really added a whole new layer of structure and capability to our organization. I think what they've done is tried a bunch of really interesting things. Sometimes they're kind of Portland focused, sometimes they're more statewide. I think what Katharine is going to bring to the organization is the ability to assess all of that stuff, to say, this is what we do well. This is stuff that was fun to try, but we need to kind of put that on the back burner right now and not deal with that. But, this is the core of what Built has the ability to do effectively, and we need to double down and focus on optimizing that activity and hopefully scaling it statewide. So she's still getting her bearings. She knows Built well, but, like, stepping into that kind of role takes a little getting up to speed time. So please give her some grace as she learns the ropes and as Mitch and I download a decade's worth of institutional knowledge into her head, or more preferably into documentation so that anybody can access it. But anyway, super psyched to have Katharine on board as the executive director. And a good reception from the community. I mean, not only, friends and family and colleagues texting Katharine and Mitch and me about how this is so great and that's awesome and blah, blah, blah. It was kind of blowing up on LinkedIn. Our friends at, the Oregonian felt it was newsworthy. They took a few minutes to chat with us and cover it. The Portland Business Journal wrote a very complimentary piece, like highlighting that Katharine was hired, and they shared it in their newsletters and that kind of thing. So all in all, a very, very good week for Built Oregon. For me personally, a very, very good week because I was the interim director, and as I said, I'm not that guy. That's not me. I'm not the executive director of Built, and nor do I have to be. You may remember last year that Jama software, which had been one of the not darling, they'd been one of the known and recognized startups in Portland during that kind of last era of software SaaS startups coming out of the mortgage crisis. Jama Software was a huge player among them. And what I really loved about them is they kind of bootstrapped as long as they possibly could and only took venture capital when they absolutely benefited from having that equity-based investment and that infusion of capital and were able to use it wisely. They kind of sort of exited, but a lot of folks, they took some PE, some private equity investment, and a lot of folks kind of held on to their shares until last year, 2024, when Jama finally exited for $1.2 billion. So $6.5 billion, $1.2 billion. Why am I talking about this now? Well, it's up for an award with the GeekWire Awards. If you're not familiar with GeekWire, our friends to the north in Seattle, GeekWire is a publication that covers all aspects of technology in the Pacific Northwest. They've got great national coverage, great international coverage, but of course, a lot of their coverage is focused on kind of the technology giants in the Seattle area, but they also, their roots are in the startups and sharing what was going on with the startups, and they continue to do that. And so they have this amazing awards show every year. I've been several times. It's a big event, big kind of gala event, and I encourage you to go if you're into those kind of things. But what I encourage you to do before that is one of the categories is like best exit acquisition-y thing. I can't remember the category title, but anyway, Jama's up for that award. And it's rare for Portland companies to get a little of that limelight from GeekWire and the GeekWire Awards. So I would suggest you go vote for it. There are a whole bunch of other interesting things to vote for as well, like best leaders and companies and moments and whatever. I'm really focused on the Jama thing because it's a Portland thing. But the Jama software exit is up among other exits, deals. Maybe that's what it was, best deal, something along those lines. And I personally do think it was the best deal of last year. So if you tend to agree, and you maybe want to vote on a few other categories, I will link up the GeekWire Awards voting sheet, GeekWire Awards 2025 voting sheet for you to kind of check off your favorites there. And I would encourage you, again, to attend the GeekWire Awards. It's just a great gathering of startup community, larger tech community, Seattle community, Pacific Northwest community. It's just always a great event, and really respect not only the publication the GeekWire folks have built, but the event series and big events and annual gatherings they're able to put together for the entire Pacific Northwest tech community. Again, Jama software, $1.2 billion last year, and ridiculous exit for Oregon Venture Fund. But I encourage you to vote and then also consider making the trip up to attend. Tom Sollett, who runs Asian American Town, you may have experienced one of his activations, which is Legendary Makers Market, which is just the largest Asian market pop-up experience thing in the Pacific Northwest, if not the West, if not the United States. It's an amazing gathering that really brings the Asian American community together with both vendors and people who make products, and the community itself getting to experience that. Tom, for a while, has been talking about, look, we got a pitch black for the black folks in Portland. We've got a pitch Latino for the Latino folks in not only in Oregon, but Juan has taken that to Tri-Cities and Seattle and all over the place for Latino founders. Why isn't there something for Asian founders? Well, now there is. I was sincerely hoping this would come to fruition, and I'm happy to report that now it has. Inspired by Pitch Black and Pitch Latino, we now have I Hope You Get Rich, a pitch competition for Asian and Asian American founders to share what they're building, what products they've created, and what companies they're trying to build here in the Portland area. That event will take place at Latino Founders on May 30th as part of Asian American and Pacific Islander History Month. Those tickets are going to go fast. So I encourage you to jump in there, RSVP if you can, to attend I Hope You Get Rich, a new pitch event in the tradition of Pitch Black and Pitch Latino. It's finally nice to see a venue and a format designed to celebrate all of the Asian and Asian American entrepreneurs. Mercury, as you may remember, is a startup banking platform, designed specifically with startups in mind. Saw its biggest kind of influx of users after the Silicon Valley Bank situation, which happened a few years back. And but the compelling platform and obviously compelling to investors, given that they just raised another $300 million at a $3.5 billion valuation. But again, why am I talking about it? Because they have a footprint here in Portland. And I've talked about this with you several times. I don't think we've come to a decent conclusion. What even is a Portland company anymore? Pre-pandemic, it was very easy to say, oh, is the company headquartered here? Are the bulk of their employees here? Are they a Portland company? Do they posture as a Portland company? Do they claim to be a Portland company? That Intel thing was always kind of confusing. Like, more Intel employees in the Portland region than anywhere on Earth, even though they're headquartered in the Bay Area. So that one always still threw me. But for the most part, people would say we are a Portland company. Now, in the after times, we have any number of people here who are working remotely for a company headquartered elsewhere. You know, some of their execs live here, but others don't. They are founded somewhere else, but the bulk of their employees are here. So I don't know. I'm not being as hard and fast on what a Portland company is. I am trying to focus on companies, startups, what have you, that may have a positive impact on our community as a whole. And Mercury is definitely one of those. And that was also validated by some of my LinkedIn comments when I mentioned the raise. People chimed in with like, yeah, they've got some really good people here in Portland. So there you go. I mean, I personally know a Pi mentor who works at Mercury now, and he's solid, and I always appreciate his feedback and insights. So I have to imagine there are other team members like him here in town. So congratulations to Mercury on the $300 million raise. I'm hoping we see some positive impact from that in Portland. But nonetheless, as someone interested in startups in the Portland area, Mercury is a great platform for banking for startups, so you should know about it just for that. Another company that raised $45 million, if it's $67 million, $45 million was raised by Eclypsium, which is a Portland company that deals with cybersecurity. It's 2 former Intel employees who are in cybersecurity there. I think the most, other than that's a significant amount for a Portland company to raise. That's a significant amount for any company to raise. But this is an Andreessen Horowitz portfolio company. So they had received investment from A16Z before, and A16Z again followed on with this round of $45 million. So good things for cybersecurity, good things for security in the world of AI, good things for Portland because this company clearly will be hiring and growing to spend down that capital and probably get ready to raise their next round or do something even more interesting. So keep an eye on Eclypsium. They stay fairly quiet. Like, I don't hear a lot of things here and there apart from fundraising. I think they're pretty much heads down doing what they do. But I would keep an eye on them because with this influx of capital, that could be some major momentum for Eclypsium. Paxton would raise $22 million. The thing I love about Paxton, out of Bend. So not just Portland seeing this success, but Bend. Paxton is using AI in legal services. And they've won a number of awards. This is the second, I think this is their Series A that they've just raised. So they've raised capital before, but this is significantly more. And continue to watch them. They've just really been lauded by the industry. And I had the opportunity to meet with their CTO when I was down for Bend Venture Conference. And I've been really interested to keep an eye on what they're doing. They seem to be at the lead of what is a very crowded space, I'll admit, for AI as it applies to legal, but Paxton seems to be keying in on some things that make it stand out. Ahead Computing, which is a whole bunch of like Intel people who founded it, and they seem to keep getting Intel people joining them. Ahead Computing just raised $22.1 million to continue to fund their growth in the region. And that's really exciting to see. I guess Ampere kind of like, anyway, we're on Ahead Computing now. I'm sorry to derail, but they've raised some more capital. They're definitely attracting talent from Intel and continuing to build, working on the idea of processors for this next generation of technology and how you provide GPUs to people who need intensive processing power for AI and the like. I'm keeping an eye on Ahead Computing. I think they're really on to something, and how much they continue to kind of raise and attract in terms of talent could be really beneficial to our community. It's been a while since we've had a truly hardware-based startup that was garnering attention around here. So, PayRange is another good example that is a hardware play, and they've been really successful. They just made an acquisition recently, but it's rare for a town that is as focused on advanced manufacturing and has not only so much Intel talent, but ASML and other people and Mentor Graphics and yada, 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 like all these people focused on hardware. You would think we would have more activity in that regard, but we don't. So it's always nice to see these companies that are pursuing something that's getting funding that's allowing them to continue to grow. Shotsy, a new mobile app specifically designed who are taking weight loss drugs that require injections, like Ozempic. I can't remember, it's a GPL1. There's some classification for these drugs that are helping with weight loss, but it's a regimen. Like, you have to track it. You have to pay attention to what's going on. You want to know how it's affecting your body and your weight loss and all those kind of things. And so Aja Beckett had created, she'd started to try and track this stuff personally. And she's like, this is too frustrating. I need an app to do this. So she's built an app called Shotsy that enables people to better track their regimen on these weight loss shots. And obviously you can think of other areas where people are required to take injection-based medication, where it may also be beneficial for those kind of things, but specifically focused on this new category of weight loss drugs. And it's got like 100,000 downloads, and like people are using it and really good reviews. And it comes as no surprise to me because I first encountered Aja with one of her other startups, which was called Civil. She had come out of, if I'm remembering correctly, she had been a moderator on TED, like Big TED event, like had been a moderator on their web properties and their videos and that kind of thing. And so she had created an app back in the day that was called Civil. And Civil was focused on really creating a more like virtuous cycle around commenting and validating other people's comments and helping like create good conversation in like blog comments and news article comments, web-based comments beyond typical social blah blah. They had even at one point been adopted by probably my favorite alt weekly of all time, Willamette Week, of course. And they had adopted the Civil solution for their comment sections, implemented it, but that for whatever reason didn't quite get the traction or performance that folks were hoping for. But now Aja's on to this new thing with Shotsy, and it is definitely, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, timing is the whole thing with startups. Like you can have the best team, you can have the best technology, you can have the best user experience, you can be, all these great things. If your timing is off, even slightly, it will fail. If you're too early and you can't hang on, it will fail. If you're too late and can't deal with the competition, it will fail. It's all about timing with startups. And I feel like Aja has timed this exceptionally well. She started using a medication. She tried to do something to track that. She discovered the pain point that a lot of other people were going to encounter, and she built an app to really satisfy that. So if you are on those medications and trying to track your regimen, then check out Shotsy. Even if you're not, check out Shotsy, because I think it's a really good example of a founder recognizing a pain point at the right time and building something that is satisfying the needs of hundreds of thousands of people. Shotsy raised $2 million because investors are like, they recognize timing. They're like, oh, okay, that's got some traction. That might be something. That's got some heat. Let's put some money behind that and see what happens. So that's what's going on with Shotsy. You may have seen them around town. Shotsy won one of the Demolicious events. They appeared on stage at the 2024 Demolicious Champion of Champions event. They're doing really well, and I'm really always happy to see serial founders taking another swing and getting traction and investment that helps them build the companies they want to build. So keep an eye on Shotsy. Disputed AI landed $1.1 million in funding. They're former SeatGeek folks, and what they recognized was there's this weird like disputed chargeback difficulty, which even for large companies is a huge undertaking, let alone smaller companies where it's like, oh, I got this charge on my credit card and I'm going to dispute it, and then you don't agree, and then you have to go dispute it with this other party, and all these things. How do they simplify that problem? How do they make that easier for people to deal with that? That's what Disputed AI is working on. And obviously, as you can tell by the URL, how do we use AI to help mitigate some of that stuff? So Disputed AI has been working on this for a while. They just went out and raised a round of $1.1 million, but no institutionals in there, none of that stuff, just going out to high net worth individuals or angels to kind of cobble that together to give them the runway to move this stuff forward. So I've been tracking them for a while. I saw them, I don't know if they were at Demolicious or something else, but like I saw their name, classically opened them in a tab on my browser and kept paying attention to them to see what was going on. But this is like big news for them. Thank you so much to Malia Spencer at the Portland Business Journal for covering the story. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known exactly what was going on. And just wanted to highlight that Disputed AI has raised $1 million and some change in venture capital, and I will continue to watch their journey and will, of course, write up a post early next week. But it got to me too late for me to cover it this time. But I just wanted to share it with you. We're friends. We're friends here. I wanted to give you the inside scoop on what was going on even before I wrote it up on the blog. So keep an eye on Disputed AI, and if you have disputed charges, check out Disputed AI. And with this $1 million, really excited to see what they do next. I'm going to keep doing this whether you like it or not. But if you happen to like it, maybe, just leave a like. You don't have to subscribe. No. Yeah, that's fine. Just leave a like. That's enough. Low commitment on your part. Good feedback on my part. Leave a like.